Well, good morning and good afternoon, everybody. Today's Song of the Month class is I sent out the music, Unforgettable. I'm not as fancy as Dawn, where she gives you all sorts of history, but I think this might be a little bit before your time, I think, huh? Unforgettable. Your parents may have told you the guy who wrote this song or performed this song. But before I get into the song, I'm going to open up with some music. Thought it'd be fitting to start off with a song. Is that okay? All right. But not unforgettable. I'll play something totally different. So let's see. Oh, thank you, thank you, thank you. Wasn't that beautiful? Wow, some beautiful sounds that come out of that. Now, if you have the music, you have to. If I'm going to tell you right now, if you have the song, the book, Best Songs Ever, eighth edition, it might be in the sixth or fifth or third or 10th, or I don't know. Hal Leonard tries to stump you. They always take out a bunch of songs that you need, or once. It's always one song they take out that you need on the new edition, right? Um, Unforgettable. I like the version of the chords in the Best Songs Ever book. Okay. There's one chord I'm going to add to this, and I'll get to it at the end. However, if you have the version that I emailed you, I'm gonna tell you the chords that I changed. You can try the version that I sent you, but I'm going to also tell you which chords I think are worth changing. Okay, again, if you have the Best Songs Ever book, these changes are already done for you. This is how I learned it. Okay? So, for the sake of the folks online, so if you go on, if you look at the music there, I got to make Tucson a co-host. Give me 1 second, folks, so he can keep an eye on the waiting room. He can't do their thing. I don't know if I see where they're at. That must mean they're not logged into their account. There we go. Okay, so let me very quickly go back to the music. If you have the version that I emailed, if you look on the screen here, everything that's in blue is the chord changes. So right here, there used to be a F sharp something. I changed it to E or E seventh. I prefer the E seventh. That right. What I'm saying is, if you have the book, these changes are already done. But a lot of people have the handout that I emailed. Okay? So you'll notice here, there's that weird chord there. I guess if you want to play it and you like it, play it. I don't like it personally. Okay? So I just played E or E7, and it just stays on until you play to the next chord. All right? Then, and then where the word far is on the music, for those of you who have the book, here it's the B note. You'll see there's an A or an A7th. And by the way, I will update this song on our Patreon page, so you'll have this copy. Okay? So if you have, for those of you out there, you have this version. Again, if you have the best songs ever, these chord changes are already reflected in that book. They simplify it.
Which other book is it that Robert, what's the book number?
The best songs ever is book number 200.
Ah.
Right. Your book. That's correct. The email that I sent out. This is not out of a book. Yes.
This is the email I sent out.
Okay, so continuing on. So on the, I'm just kind of leaving it on the screen there. So you'll see the C. I'm going to talk about this in a minute. And then I put an X on that. That used to be an F7th chord. Okay. And then I replace whatever was here, whatever was there on this music, with an A or an A7th. I think it's, E minor. E minor 7th works, but I like the A7th. Okay? And then on the second page, everything that's in blue. So E or E7th here, cross off this chord. On the second line, A or A7th. All right. And then on the 1, 2, 3, 4th line, I cross off this chord, whatever was there, F7. And then here I replace it with an A or A7th. Okay? Now, for those of you who have the Best Songs Ever book, there is one chord that I add. All right? I'm going to leave that up on the screen because I know most of the people out in virtual land received this version, but without the changes. Okay? But if you have the Best Songs Ever, on the second page at the very end, you'll notice on the 1, 2, 3, 4th line down, you'll see there's a D7th chord there. That will work. However, if you'd like to do an optional chord change, your music has it already. I'm talking about the book right now, okay? The Best Songs Ever book. Okay, so if you have your Best Songs Ever book in front of you, book number 200, 8th edition, again, it might be in some previous editions, 1, 2, 3, 4 line down, okay? Let me just do it this way, right? At the last measure on the 4th line, there's a D7th chord there, okay? The D7th will work. However, if you want to try an optional chord, put a D minor and then followed by a G7th on the 3rd beat. So let me show you. I'm sorry. Actually, let me stop. Just change the D to a D7th. All right, wait. Let me play. Hold on 1 second. Hold on. Before you make any change, let me play it. Don't say anything. Silence. Okay, sorry. You can make that a D minor instead if you'd like. Just a D minor. Just the last measure on the third line. Just open up your book if you have it. Go on the 1, 2, 3, 4. Just listen. Cecilia, listen. 1, 2, 3, 4. Go to the D, change that to a D minor or D minor 7, and that's it. The G7th is already there on the next measure. So if I told you to put a G7th, just cross it off. Okay? The G7th is on the next line. Right. Now that, again, is for you guys who have the book and you're using it. All the chord changes that I just gave are already reflected in this book. So you don't have, they simplified it. For some reason, this version, the copy that I got, wherever I got it from, they wanted to get fancy with some of the chords.
Robert,
Yes.
on the second page, 1, 2, 3, the fourth line, last measure, the word thinks, you changed that D7 to an E minor?
Okay. All right. Do you have this book? Are you referring to this?
No, I'm in a different book, but it's
Oh,
same.
okay. It's thinks is a D7 should be there.
Oh, okay.
D as in dog, it should already be there. But what I'm saying is if you want to try a different chord, turn that into a D minor or D minor 7th
Okay, got it.
on the word thinks. Okay?
Thank you.
So that's all I got to say about that. I just wanted to make sure because I know some people have the version that I emailed, and I know some people have it in the book. I like the book's version because it's simpler, and the chords for me make a little more sense. Now, you'll also notice for those of you who have the version that I emailed, you'll also notice that at the very top, it has this little notation here, and it says if you see this, you can turn it into a G major 7th. Okay? To me, it's optional, but you'll see G major 7th, C major 7th, and F major 7th. Okay? Now, let me tell you this right now. If you want to play those chords, sometimes I play the full chord, sometimes I play the easy play. But if you're an easy play player and you don't want to do the 4-finger chord, let me tell you the simple notes to play. If it's a C major 7th, you just push C and B together. C and B as in boy. Okay? If you're a full chord player, then you probably already know what the notes are. All right? And F major 7th is F and E as in elephant. And G major 7th is G, of course, and F sharp together. And that'll give you the major 7th. All right? All right, enough about chords, because to me, chords are great. You have to play them, but you have to have a good sound for it to sound good, right? So I'm going to give you 4 basic setups, and I didn't number the music because I want you to play them wherever you want to play them. However, the most changes that I do happen because the song repeats almost itself. If you look at the music that you have, it kind of repeats itself. So I'm gonna, for the sake of you, have the music that was sent out, and then I'll cover it on the song, the Best Songs Ever book. So this one's kind of simple. As you can see, page 1 is like one time around, and page 2 is the second time around, okay? So I'll make changes on page 1 and then on page 2. On the Best Songs Ever book, it's almost the same. It's a little bit larger. the first time around goes all the way up until the second page. You see where the G chord is on the second page? If you're using this book, of course, okay? It starts singing Unforgettable again. That's like the second part, all right? So part one, part two, they're almost the same thing, okay? So the changes I'm going to give you are just recommendations that if you want to make a change, make it on page one or page two, all right? And I'm going to show you how I got the setups. I didn't go in and do a lot of super customizing. I used what was built into the instrument with some minor changes, and then I just saved the presets. Okay? Now let me ask you this. The song that I played, the opening song I played, what was the name of the song? I Left My Heart in San Francisco. It was a pretty song, right? You mean the rhythm? Yeah, I did, but even more so, I actually used the exact same sounds that I'm going to feature today. So I did that on purpose. So if you don't like, but there's one little trick I did to that, and I'll tell you that later. Okay? So the sounds that you heard some beautiful strings and some bells. I think I used a trombone maybe in there. There was a saxophone. There was a piano. There was a guitar. I had all these beautiful sounds in there, and well, I thought they were beautiful. And I used the exact same settings for that. So the point of this is that if you kind of use some of these sounds and you have some songs that are nice, slow standards, it'll work for many songs. Mood Indigo, Moon Glow, Moonlight Serenade, any of those beautiful standards, all right? So the first thing I did, now by the way, the style that I chose, and there's so many rhythms you could actually use for Unforgettable. I'm going to do the obvious, and I'm going to use the style that's built for it. But you have many choices for this. I'm going to ramble them off. I used the style called Unforgotten. Okay? Now, when I played I Left My Heart in San Francisco, the only thing that I did is I turned on the altar style. And the reason I did that is because some of the fill-ins in Unforgotten are perfect for the song Unforgettable. Now, here's the beauty. If you forget to do that and you just play I Left My Heart in San Francisco, the fill-ins almost, forgot to put my phone in Bluetooth mode. Sorry. Is my camera back? Okay. Let me put it on airplane mode rather. That way if I get a phone call. Okay. The fill-ins, because of the way those two examples were, sometimes the fill-ins almost sound like they're for the other song. So it won't hurt. But there's a lot of great styles you can use. You can use actually San Fran's, which is designed for I Left My Heart in San Francisco, but that'll work for this song. You can take any, you can actually take any swing or big band style on your instrument. The key here is to just make sure it's at the tempo that works for the song. So I'm playing it at 78, okay? Some of you have a style called Dinner and Dance. That works nicely. Any of those swing styles. Believe it or not, what some people don't use is a real simple, basic, soft and easy 8-beat style. So, I have the Easy 10 set up here, and I was going through trying to figure out which ones would I like the best. I found 3 that I liked, but the one that I stuck to was the one called Easy 4/4. Even our Easy 2 and our Discovery models, it's called Easy 8-beat. They come up a little too slow because they're designed to be very slow in nature. I actually had to speed it up to 75 or 78 for this. So over here, for example, it comes up at 62. You might have to speed it up to 78. Okay? So there are all sorts of great styles that you can use. But for the sake of the class, I'll obviously do Unforgotten. All right? So here's what I did. I did what most people did. Now, keep in mind, take detailed notes. I'm going to end up typing all of this information and posting it on our Patreon, and I have the setups, and once I record it, I will also post it, all right? But what I did to come up with this arrangement is I wanted to take sounds that were already built into the instrument to come up with some real basic, simple ideas, okay? So all I did is I put on the rhythm that I wanted, in this case, Unforgotten. Over here, I used Easy 4/4. If I was on the Easy 2 and the Discovery, I put on Easy 8-beat. The tempo is 78, so we got that established. Real simple. Now, my first setting, for those of you who have rhythm presets, if you hear it, it sounds like this. All right? Pretty sound, right? Strings and bells. So the generic setup, if you will, is strings and bells, which is, if you want to know what type of sound, I have just simple 8-foot strings. Actually, let me pull up the screen here. Let's see. Now, if you could see it up, I don't know if you could see it there on virtual land, but you'll see it says strings, and I even have some bells, and then a lot of you are familiar with this yellow tab here. Okay? And I have a harmony, and you can use your typical AOC. In this case, believe it or not, I actually have a polka harmony. Wow, why would I use a polka harmony for a beautiful standard, right? There's a misperception that if you use a polka harmony, you have to play polkas. There's a misperception that if you use a country harmony, you play it with country music, and so forth. Those are just that's the common harmony that's used when the instruments are played in polka music. For example, the accordions. It's just the common harmonies that they play. But there's no rule that says you can't use a polka harmony with a soft and easy or a beautiful style. So if you have a polka harmony, work it. If you have AOC, that'll work too. But here's what you get. Watch. Sounds pretty to me. If I didn't tell you, you wouldn't know it was a polka harmony, right? Now, if you don't have a harmony, maybe you don't even want to use a harmony. Just put on some beautiful strings. That works nicely too. Now over here, I have it set up with a soft and easy type style. And I'm going to start off with strings. Let's see. Now this one you won't hear it the same because the speaker's cut off of here, but it's just coming out of there. But watch. Strings works nicely, even if you didn't use the harmony. For the sake of it, they won't hear this on there because it's not plugged in, but now this sounds better to you, and this sounds better to them because they're getting it through.
Plugged in.
That's the one thing, the Easy 10, the only way to plug it is by the use of the headphone jack. Anyway, but you got the point. I have some beautiful strings, and if you have some bells, I added some bells. Now, there is something that I'm using the entire time. I will tell you this now. A feature that I'm using the entire time that some people avoid. Oh, I don't want to use that feature because I don't use it right. And it's either called dynamic keying or keyboard touch. Okay? Depending on the model you have. So if you have an A series model, it's called dynamic keying. Or keyboard touch. And all that means is that when you play the notes, if you hit the notes a little harder, they come through a little bit stronger. Now, the reason why some people don't use that feature is commonly because when you're playing, if you don't hit the notes hard enough, then you don't hear the melody. But listen to the background that I'm using. There's a little background filler. But listen to that style. It's Unforgotten. But just listen. It's a pretty, overall, it's a pretty It's a pretty simple style. There's not too much going on like a big band. Okay? So if you use the touch feature and you're playing, even if you don't hit the notes hard enough, you'll still probably be able to hear it. In fact, you have to be careful of hitting the notes too hard because the background is not that strong. If you hit the notes too hard, then it's going to come too strong. I'm actually playing, because I'm using this feature, I'm playing the notes very softly. So if you have this feature on and you find yourself going, I can barely hear the melody or it's coming in too strong, then don't use it. Okay? So you don't want that happening throughout your music. The reason why I'm using it is because the sounds that I'm using, you're going to hear some pianos and saxophones and vibraphones. Especially those sounds, I like having that effect of hitting the notes harder or softer. And it's best used when it's with a rhythm style that doesn't have a lot going on. It's a lot easier to use, and you'll see that in a bit. So for my first setup, I told you the rhythm choices. I told you the tempo. For my upper keyboard, I simply used some strings with some bells, and then I played it like this. You seen the fill-ins in there? Just nice and simple. Now, you can do one of two things. I'm going to set it up myself, and I'm going to find my strings, and I'm going to put on my bells, and I'm going to do it myself. If you happen to use rhythm preset, number 4, it gives you the exact same setting. Okay, the reason why I'm doing it this way is so I know some people actually like to try to set it up themselves. Okay, so pay very close attention, write it down, go back and rewatch it and catch this. If you have an A series model, all right, rhythm preset number, what did I say? 4. If you have an E series model, vintage number 4. EX. E is Rialto, Inspire, Marquis, Grand Marquis, and Aria. Okay? Style setup number, vintage number 4. And if you have the Prestige, Legend, Liberty, Patriot, Symphony, Sterling, it's rhythm preset number 4. And it'll give you the exact same setup that I just gave you. So what I did when I was putting this together, I put on the rhythm like everybody else does. I put on rhythm preset, and I went through some of them and went, ooh, I like this one. Everybody uses what usually comes up initially. I love the way these strings sound, and I just said, okay, I like that. So I'm going to save that on number 1. Okay? So that's the sound you got, and it sounds like this. Now, if you have an organ, you don't feel like saving presets, just put on some strings. What I did on this model over here, for example, these don't have where you could save presets. So what I did is I went through all the sounds that I was going to use, not all of them, most of them, strings, vibes, saxophone, piano, and I kind of preset them. So while I'm playing, all I have to do is switch over and press the button while I'm playing. I don't want to look for it while I'm playing. I just want to reach over and push another button. And I'll show that to you in a bit. So this is one setup. Okay? You got the rhythm, some beautiful strings with a harmony and bells for an added little touch. The other setup I have, and I did when I would probably going to play it on the second page, it would sound something like this. Ooh, that's a classic sound. Now, I don't know if you could see it up there, but it says shearing, exclamation point. All right, now I don't know if you can see it on the screen there, but where did I find that sound? Everything I got was by using rhythm preset or vintage. All right, so let me go to the normal rhythm presets. Yeah, look on the screen here. I don't know if you could see it on there, virtual people. I'll zoom in. Let me see. Hold on. I'm going to zoom in for. So my second setup. I went to number 8. And I played it and I said, ooh, I like that. And then guess what I did?
Memorized it.
No, I said, guess what I did? You're supposed to say, what did you do?
What did you do?
I memorized it to a preset number 2. So I took what was there and I'm just memorizing it on the presets. That's all. Now, if you don't do that and you just go, I'll start with number 4, then I'll go to number 8, and then I'll go to number, and I'm going to tell you what numbers, but I just saved them in order. And the reason why I did that is because I did some tweaks to it, like I might have, I turned on the touch feature and things like that. Okay? Okay. Sharing rep is a play on words, like the rhythm style you like. It's called the Miami beat. Who is that? Who is that from? Miami Sound Machine. There's a play on words, right? Shearing is a play on words for George Shearing. George Shearing. He was real popular in I guess, in the jazz world, would you say, or swing? Yeah, his name. You just look him up, and he had a unique sound that was very popular, and what you're going to hear when I say sharing, here's the combination. Let me put it on there. Let me just put it on here and show you. So it's a piano, if you can see that. Someday when we hit the big leagues, I'll have a cameraman. Right now I'm the cameraman, teacher. Well, you'll see it says piano, a jazz guitar, okay? And then right here it says vibes. It's a combination of those 3 instruments. That's the George Shearing sound with the 4-part harmony. Okay? Now, you can do this yourself. You go, I want to do it myself. You can go and program it yourself. Or if you have a preset that says shearing, okay? Now, if you don't, here's a little trick for you. Just pick a piano or a vibraphone. A lot of instruments have the capability of putting 2 sounds on together. And just put the 2 on together and put on a harmony. I'll show you. Let me back out here. I'm going to go over here to the smaller model. Watch this. Yes, just put on number 8. What number was it on the rhythm preset? It was number 8, and then I just resaved it to number 2. I just took what was out of order and I put it in order for me. Okay? So, yeah. Now, just going to go down a little bit. Okay, so here's an example. I'll do it over here too. So over here, I'll put on a piano and say vibes together. You can try whichever combination you have. You could put piano with jazz guitar, maybe vibes and jazz, and just find one that your ears like. And I'm going to have the harmony, and then let's see what happens. No strings. So piano and vibes works nicely. This doesn't have a harmony, but I might put piano and vibes together and I'll get this. Okay, now, this is very important. I don't know if you noticed, I don't know if you could see it there, you could probably see here. When I started playing the song with the first setting, did you notice I played it in this octave, this range? I started playing from the 1 to third C, third D. Yeah, the first note is D, up, okay? When I used the George Shearing sound, I went up an octave. Okay? You could say in the second page. You could also say wherever you feel like playing it. That's what I said. That's why I didn't put specific numbers. But you can go one page, change one sound on another page, and go back and forth. But watch what happens if you try to play it in the same octave, in the same range. Oh. It's a little low. It's borderline too low if you transpose and do all that stuff. But if you're up here, you're safe. Pretty sound, isn't it? Yeah, and the melody does come out a little bit better. All right. So the first setup, I have some beautiful strings with the bells with harmony. Second setup, I used the George Shearing sound, which is a piano, a guitar, and vibes with a 4-part harmony. If you want to set it up yourself, you do that. If you want to use what you want to find it very easily, put on the Unforgotten style, put on rhythm preset 4 for the strings and number 8 for the shearing. If you have the EX series, you're going to put vintage 4 and vintage 8 to get it. Vintage. Vintage, yes, because all of the setups, just remember this for all of you folks who have an EX model, okay? Marquis, Grand Marquis, Rialto, Inspire, Aria. If we use setups on an A series model, we say rhythm preset, just say to yourself vintage, okay? Because those models introduced new presets, but they didn't want to get rid of the ones that were there before because they're great, okay? So if you ever hear us use the word rhythm preset this, rhythm preset that, just say to yourself vintage, okay? Now, if we say the word style setup refers strictly to the E models, okay? I do, but I don't have an organ to do it, that's why. I don't have the... If I had an EX here, I might interchange them and then share the sounds I made. All right, now, I want to keep going. Now, I've got 2 other setups that I'm going to give you, and these are a little bit easier. Again, I'm pulling them from what's already there, but if you want to set these next 2 setups yourself, it's pretty simple, okay? And I guess if you really want the real layman's Reader's Digest, you could say, for your setup 1, use strings. Setup 2, piano, vibes, or guitar, or all of the above. The point is, change the sound a little bit, okay? Now, because the song is actually very song, and you know what I did? I looked up Nat King Cole. He did a performance on somewhere. It was a live show, and I listened to it. And what I was looking for was maybe they did something different in his live performance, like a different introduction, or maybe the guy did a little solo in somewhere. And no, he just played. It's basically page 1, page 2. He just sang it, and that was it. It was a 2-minute song, and that was it. So I said I could just do that, give you 2 setups, and go, okay, thanks for coming, but I had to give some more setup ideas. Now, the other 2 setups that I'm going to give you is using the same, whatever rhythm you're using, okay? If you decide I'm going to use Dinner and Dance, okay? Unforgotten, whatever. The other thing I'm doing, these next 2 setups, I turn off Orchestra Plus. Now, here's what's going to happen. Here's the rhythm style as you normally hear it, okay? It's pretty simple, but you have those occasional fill-ins, okay? And they're designed for that rhythm. They're designed to accommodate the melody, okay? If you're playing San Fran's and some of those others, they typically have some of those little extra fill-in throughout the style. But if you turn off the Orchestra Plus, just listen to it. Not much going on there, is there? It's very simple. So that's what having the Orchestra Plus button will do. In my next two setups, I turn them off. The next two setups I'm going to give you. And the reason doesn't matter. You can do it either page. Yeah. Now the reason why I kept it that simple is because the instruments that I'm going to use are just going to be some classic sounds that you all have. Almost everybody has a saxophone. Everybody has a vibraphone, right? Everybody has a piano on their, their Lowry or their Esty. Most people have those instruments, okay? But I wanted those instruments to really just stand out. So, for example, same rhythm, same tempo, but what I did is I introduced the saxophone, and for the heck of it, I also put a piano down here, okay? If you have the two keyboard option, and here's why. So when you listen to the rhythm just by itself, it almost sounds a little too boring, doesn't it? That's boring. But when you add in the saxophone and you just play that saxophone, what happens is a tenor saxophone is a tricky instrument on a Lowry or an Esty or any model. A tenor saxophone is in a lower range. And if it's too busy, it gets lost. But if you think about a saxophone, back in I used to say young days. Now as a joke, and now I can say that because it was 30 years ago now. Oh my goodness, 30 years ago, actually over 30 years ago, one of my bands was guitar. We had a drummer and a bass and a saxophone, and I just love the way the saxophone sound and all the little characteristics that he did. And you could hear the breath sometimes and the way you played it right. So to really hear that, I turn off the Orchestra Plus and I keep the dynamic keying or touch feature on. Because no matter how hard or soft you hit the saxophone, you're going to be able to hear it. And you're not going to play it the same friction every time, okay? And that's good. A lot of people worried I have to hit every... No, just play the notes the way your fingers play them. And what's going to happen is the saxophone's going to have it's going to be a little bit more authentic that way. Watch. And the tenor sax is great because you can play it in any range you want. So I have the sax and the piano. Now, if you don't have that upper and lower keyboard, you're okay. You can, what did I say, saxophone? All right, so there's this, let me get a sax, and here's a piano. I can easily go, now this has the two keyboards, but let's say I didn't. All right, now watch. Oh, sax. Without a harmony. There's enough time in between the notes, you can switch. Now they can't hear it, but just pretend you hear it out there. the way the song is written, it's easy to switch back and forth from one sound to the other because there's this long pause after you hit the notes. You can either program in advance or you could say, "Oh, just switch to another one." You can use whatever you want. Use the trumpet if you want. Whatever you like, it's going to work nicely for it. But the way I have it set up is for the third setup, orchestra plus off. I have a saxophone here and a piano on here. Now, I don't feel like doing the work of setting up myself, Robert. Which preset did you get that from? Rhythm preset number. Nope. Any guesses?
6.
Okay, let me pull it up on the screen. Get my cameraman working here. Okay, can you see it out there, virtual people?
Yes.
Number 6. And it sets up, it calls it super sax. I'll tell you what it specifically sets up, which is really nice. It sets up a tenor breathy sax, the piano here, but it puts it on the bottom keyboard for me. It also puts in this other saxophone, combines a few, sax tenor 50. And then I just discovered this yesterday. When I was doing the presets yesterday, I had to go back and start on the Prestige because I realized that this sound didn't exist. So there's a sax alto lyrical. Now, a lot of the organs have a sax alto. Now, watch.
What's the difference?
Wait, that's the wrong button. You ever push the wrong button? Nobody does that. Wait.
Never.
Hold on. So I didn't even put it. Oh, there's a sax alto dynamic. It just, the best way I can tell you is it just sounds a little bit different. So, for example, if you put on a tenor breathy sax and a baritone sax, obviously one's an octave lower, but the sound sounds different as well. So anyway, the point I'm making is that remains the same, and that's the one that's on all of the instruments, a tenor breathy saxophone it puts on the piano. But how did I get it? Rhythm preset number 6. And if I said rhythm preset number 6, what does that mean? For you EX people?
Press
Vintage. Just remember that, okay? And then the last setup that I did was this. Is this sound? Let me look at the music, I guess. Here we go. I have it's real simple, just a good old-fashioned vibraphone or vibes.
Oh, we already hit.
Where is it? Where am I? No, it's not there. No. This is wrong. That's not right. Let's see. I think that my display is not showing right. But what it is it's actually, and where I got it was rhythm preset number 5. Okay? Right. Oh, you know why it looked a little different? Because I took it from the Prestige and I tweaked it. But this is going to show up exact. Watch, rhythm preset 5. It should. There it is. Vibes, and then a guitar flamenco on the bottom keyboard. Okay? Let me move the camera down. Okay. So in that, what number did I say? Rhythm preset 5. You don't have that rhythm preset? just reach over and push vibes or piano, and you get. And it works no matter what you do.
Mhm.
Where is it? Now, here's the cool thing about this is that there's no right or wrong to how you do this. I gave you 4 different setups and I told you how I got them. The first was basically featuring the strings. The second one was featuring the George Shearing effect, which was like a combination of piano and vibes and guitar. The third was just the saxophone. And the fourth was vibes and or piano, okay? I'm sorry, the saxophone and the piano, and then vibes and guitar, okay? Now you could say to yourself, you could start off on page 1 with one setup, and then on page 2 do the next setup. And you can do it in any order that you want. You can say, maybe I want to start off with just a beautiful light touch vibraphone. It doesn't matter. You can start off. Now, you could also say to yourself, well, wait a second. Do I have to wait to change the sound at the end of the page? No, you can do it halfway if you want. You can do it however you want. There is no wrong or right to it.
Mhm.
Well, I wouldn't change every measure, but I wouldn't change it every measure. But here's what I will do. When I play the song, I'm going to play the song one time through only, using all 4 setups. If I wanted to do all 4 setups, one page, one page, one page, it might be a little bit too long. But in your own home, you can do whatever you want. So I'm going to show you how it's not too much by doing 4 changes from one page to the other. Okay? Now keep in mind what I do is not going to, if I played it again later on, I might do a little bit differently. Okay? So, are you ready? And before I do that, does anybody have any questions?
I do.
Where are you? There you are.
Sue Kelly.
Yes, what's your
What
question,
key
Sue?
is it?
Huh?
What key is the song?
I just used whatever
Oh.
came up, key of C, and
Okay.
now if I listened to the original recording, it might be in a different one, but I didn't go in changing transposing.
Mhm.
Okay?
So are we gonna do, we can put the presets for the 5?
Yep.
Presets for the 5, okay,
Mm-hmm.
thank you.
Any other questions? So in the first 2 setups, just keep in mind I had kind of the full orchestra, and the second 2 setups I kept it real simple so those instruments shine. I'm going to play it now, and I'm not going to go 1, 2, 3, 4. I don't know what I'm going to do. I'm just going to bounce around a little bit. And the point is, that's what I want you to do with yours. As long as you have those different sounds changing while you're playing, then that's all that matters. Okay? So let me try to do this now without disconnecting myself. Let's see. Is that a good angle there? Yeah. I don't want to cut off my head. Okay. All right. Is that okay?
Mhm.
All right. Here we go. I'll start with the first one, though, with the strings. And I'm going to use the introduction. Now, just a little FYI. If you happen to be using the style Unforgotten, okay, and you have the orchestra plus on and all that stuff, those fill-ins in the background kind of complement the way the melody is written. So I would encourage at least try to play that part of the song as much as in time as possible, okay? If you get off beat, those fill-ins are going to continue no matter what, but it's not going to be the end of the world. It's just, it's a little bit, it's designed perfectly if you use that style, okay? When you're using the style without the Orchestra Plus, it doesn't matter because all of those fill-ins are in that Orchestra Plus, okay? So here we go. So I decided to do it 2 times anyway. Yeah. Now, I did make one mistake that I found as I was playing. Not a mistake in what I told you. So I don't want to confuse you. No, an accord. So if you have the book, get your book out because I gave you wrong information. Almost. Yes, I want to make sure that you have it right. Okay, so I made one mistake. Near the end, remember I told you to put the D minor? Okay. I was wrong. I was wrong and I was right, but I just told you the wrong place, okay? So in the book, now what I told you in the music is fine. The one that I sent out, you don't have to worry about this. It's in the right place, and that's how I figured, that's how I discovered when I got to it that, oh, I told him the wrong thing, okay? So in the book, where there was the D chord near the end, and I told you to put a D minor, that's
Mhm.
wrong. Leave it as a D chord.
Mhm.
Okay? So before I go to the next thing, I want to give you time to change that. Okay? So I'm going to cross it off here on mine. So the D is accurate, D or D seventh.
Mhm.
Okay? All right. So everybody got that?
Yep.
All right. So now we're back to the way the music. If you want to do the D minor, you do it in place of the G, and you move the G over about one beat or two towards the middle. You can move the G over right over the G. So if you add a D minor, and this is very common, by the way, in a lot of key of C music, if you have a G7th, you can commonly replace it with a D minor or D minor seventh, but you have to bring the G7th back immediately after. Okay? So just remember that. You can try that in a lot of key of C songs. If you see where it goes to G7th, you can replace it with a D minor, but you have to add a G immediately after. Okay? So in this case, what I'm going to do is put D minor or D minor 7.
So
And then I'm
Robert,
gonna-
that resolves it then?
yes, that's a perfect way to
Okay.
explain it, is it resolves it.
Okay.
Whew, I was trying to think of the word. I'm glad you're on today, Sue. I knew there was a word that I was thinking of. So, in the music, let's see if I can get close here. If you have the book, you'll see, it might be a little fuzzy. There was a G here. I crossed it off and put a D minor, but right here on the G, I added the G7th back in. Okay? So you just got to remember that. So, pretend what I said earlier, I never said it. See, even I make mistakes sometimes. And this is being recorded. Oh my goodness, the whole world's going to know. Okay? So, but the music that I post on Patreon has all of the chords that the way they want to be played. So, that's all I have for everybody. We hope you enjoyed today's class. Yes?
I still have one question.
Okay?
Second page, last line, second measure. Second measure, I have a D to the left of the C. Why?
Well, your book might be a little bit different,
Oh,
but the way the song is in the Easy Play book, the last three measures, the way it's written in the book, is more than likely a G, and then it ends with a C chord.
okay.
Okay? If it does have that, then I take the G and I change it to a D minor and I bring back the G7th, and then the C, I end with the C. And just to clarify, it'll say Unforgettable 2. So that's, again, it depends on what version you have.
Well, you know what I had was a note. It was a D, and I
Okay.
don't know why.
Yeah. Well, I'm going to zoom in right here. So
Okay.
this is the way I did it. I'm going to
Okay.
stay right here for a minute.
Yep.
That way, if you go back and watch this, you can go, okay, that's where he did it.
Okay.
Okay? Well, with that said, thank you very much. We hope you had a wonderful class. Hey, we'll see you real soon, everybody. Thank you. Mwah.
True.